So I'm Mark Casady, General Partner at Vestigo Ventures, and glad to see everybody here. And thank you for all your time today and all your help in supporting our events and also supporting our AGM tomorrow. But I'm joined by two wonderful panelists, Dave and Anand, who both are experts in different ways of AI. So I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves. Anand, you want to start first?
Great to be here, thanks. Yeah, name is Anand Rao. I'm currently a distinguished professor at Carnegie Mellon University. Before that, I was at PwC. I was a global AI leader for PwC until June. Took a month vacation, or retirement, I should say, and then came back after a month. I have a history in AI, so I did my PhD in AI way back in 85 to 88. Yes, AI did exist at that time, so it was even, at that time it was old, so it was 35 years old. Did my PhD and then spent a year at the T.J. Watson Research Center in New York, IBM's research center, and then went back to Australia to continue with a new company called Australian Artificial Intelligence Institute, which was a spin-off of SRI International. I think most of you would know SRI International. So they're the ones where Siri came and a number of other things. So worked with them on aerospace, defense, and AI. Then around late 90s, the AI winter set in. I deserted AI, went into management consulting, something more lucrative. Went to London, spent 6-7 years there in strategy consulting. Then joined a company and came to Boston. So I was in Boston from 2005. And the company that we were working was acquired by PwC. In PwC, I've been working in big data, analytics, AI, and retired as the global AI leader. So we were helping clients stand up AI organizations. We had an innovation team building AI, deep learning, generative models, all of the things that we talk about now. And now teaching operationalizing AI and responsible AI. So we did spend a lot of time around the societal impacts of AI as well. So that's my background.
Good.
I'm Dave Blundin, co-founder of Vestigo with Mark. I'm an MIT alum from way back. Actually was one of just a handful of people on campus using neural network machine learning back when backpropagation first came out. And was very blessed, actually, that MIT gave me access to one of the biggest supercomputers in the world to start doing neural network simulations on very early. Graduated, immediately started a company that was one of 3 in the country using neural networks at the time. We were the most successful of the 3. We actually were using our technology to analyze first handwriting. We were the first to do handwriting recognition on tax forms. Used that money to start doing retail analytics. Walmart was our biggest customer. They had the biggest database in the world at the time. We were using our neural nets to analyze all the data. And then I got a call one day from a guy, Rick Dalzell, who ran Walmart's data warehousing group. And he said, "Hey, I just joined this little startup in Seattle. You may not have heard of it. It's called Amazon." I was like, okay. He said, "Yeah, you should fly out here and meet our founder. I think you're going to love each other." So went to Seattle, met Jeff Bezos. He said Amazon is going to get absolutely annihilated by the big retailers if we don't figure out how to defend ourselves with huge amounts of data and machine learning. And so worked on that right as Amazon was in hypergrowth. We ended up selling our company for just about $1 billion in 2000, and then started venture investing. Ended up co-founding 23 different companies, and then met Mark, and we started Vestigo together. Nowadays, I'd say the vast majority of the deals we're looking at every week are AI in one way or shape or form or another. And been tracking, my lifelong passion has been neural network machine learning, and have been tracking the progress through all these step function changes over the years. But you can see it's not like blockchain that just kind of came out of nowhere. It's been steadily improving kind of under the covers for a long, long time, 30 years now. And it just keeps getting over these thresholds where it just blows your mind on what it can do next. This next iteration is the biggest step function change, I think, in technology history. The things we're going to see in the next year and a half, 2 years, are light years ahead of any other change to society, change to what human capacity will be, ability to get things done like nothing we've ever seen before. So really, really excited about where we go next.
So that's a great place to start, because that's the hype versus the reality, right? And so you see a reality that has an immediate impact and fairly soon. And so how do you think about the impact of AI and where we are in that process?
So I think, as I say, we underestimate what it can do in the short term, and then overestimate what it can do in the long term. So I think there is a lot of hype around AI. But at the same time, there is also a lot of opportunity and a step function change, as you were saying, Dave, right? So let's just sort of piece together the hype. I think you mentioned it. There is a view that this whole thing came up suddenly and it is revolutionary. I would say that's the hype that's being fed. It's not revolutionary if you were in the field, right? So it has been going on, at least as far as large language models and these deep learning models, at least for 15 years. And very specifically, you can go back to the generative AI at least 10 years. If you take neural networks as the starting point, it goes back even before AI, so 1956 is where it started, right? So in that sense, it has been around. Yes, there has been step function changes, and I think that's something worth keeping in mind, both on the positive and the negative side, right? So it is positive because it's a mature technology, and it's been maturing over time as opposed to something that just came up. The other thing that people often talk about is it's a general purpose technology. Yes, it is true it is general purpose technology, more general purpose than what was there before. But let's not kid ourselves by saying that this is really AGI, or artificial general intelligence, right? So again, we are confusing the generative power of some of these tools that are coming with general intelligence. And this is where I would sort of make a difference. And one of the hype things that people say is, forget about all the AI that you have done. This is so revolutionary, just throw everything and start anew with generative AI. I would be very careful with that message, right? So again, it's the part of the hype. There are some things for which I think your traditional models are still very good. What this new kind of technology has brought in is that generative feature. Anything which is creative, anything that is generative, whether it is voice, image, all kinds of generative stuff, it is very good at. Now, people are using it for doing optimization. You're using classification, all of the sort of techniques, but they're very traditional ones which do very well. And that's where I reserve my judgment in terms of, do you really want to use the same kind of architecture there, or would you better off using some of the existing technology? To me, the opportunity, we were just discussing that before this, is actually in combining the two. So you're seeing a whole host of things where you're having the large language models, but then you're combining that with some of the older, quote unquote, traditional AI. People call it GoFi, good old-fashioned AI, GoFi. So you're better off combining the two. And there are just some very recent papers we were just discussing. The whole robotics area is now being transformed, not with anything inherent in robotics that's been going on, but now it's going to be powered and is being powered by LLMs at the background. So instead of being very specific and narrow, they're getting more of that quote-unquote general purpose area. So I would try and piece together the hype versus the reality. And within the reality, there is still a big step function change. But you just don't want to be carried away with all the hype and throw away all the things that you have done.
It's very helpful. Dave, you talk about what we're seeing today in terms of the intelligence, if you will, of AI versus what it will be. Maybe you can just share some of your thinking about along those same lines of where we are today and where we're headed in terms of the intelligence of AI.
Yeah, actually, there's a big breakthrough maybe 6 or 7 years ago with ImageNet, which was this massive Google image classification problem that was a benchmark for the whole world working on neural network technologies. And there was a team that actually crushed all the prior benchmarks, and everyone's like, "How did you do it? How did you do it?" And they said, "We threw a ton of compute horsepower at it. We used regular algorithms, and we just used a lot more compute." And that started this whole wave we're on now of people throwing more and more money behind these massive, so the next wave of models, foundation models, are going to be billion-dollar training runs. And the training data going into them will be every word ever written by humankind, plus about 60 billion images. And that's going to go into this single process. And so one of the reasons we're seeing massive acceleration in the capabilities of AI isn't recent breakthroughs in algorithms. There are some of those too. It's the massive amount of capital being poured behind it is pushing it over these finish lines. So I think you're going to see pretty much all forms of customer service will topple in the next year to 18 months. And if you think about what people actually do in life, the actual work people are doing every day, and you just sample, let me take a random sample of people around the world. What are you doing right now? Vast majority of it is AI-able work. It's only the very high-end, intellectual end of human endeavor that isn't on the next 2-year roadmap. Because again, if you think about it, what am I doing right now? Oh, I'm doing my taxes, or I'm doing some back office process in some bank, or I'm doing a customer service call where it's explaining to somebody how to, use this device that they bought. All of that is going to move to a voice AI interface in just the next year or two. So the economic impact of that is just immeasurable. So I think what you can expect from just general intelligence is that a voice interface, a easy to talk to AI, passing the Turing test, but massive diversity of knowledge, much more than any human being could ever have. So for things like complicated vacation travel planning that are just agony, that'll all topple. Difficult conversations about how to debug something, that'll all topple. Routine code writing, like AI-driven GUI code, that'll topple. All of that is coming in the next year to 18 months.
Just to add to that, so the step function change that Dave was talking about, I'll give you an example historically. In 90s, I was working on natural language processing semantic networks, right? So again, non-native speaker of English, right? So I needed to fully understand the English grammar, right? So collect all of the data wherever. Again, by the way, there was no GitHub, there was no code repository anywhere. And even when you see papers, the papers will have algorithms, pseudo-algorithms, but not code, right? So not C or C++, C at those days, C or Lisp or Prolog code. It was literally algorithms written. Now you have to understand the algorithms, get all the data, understand English, and do all of that. By the time you do all of that, it's years, right? So that's why people spend entire PhDs passing natural language. That was in the 90s, early 90s. Now 2000, maybe it was 2 or 3, NLTK comes out, right? So natural language toolkit. And there, it is a single line, right? So single line to pass the entire Library of Congress, you can feed it in, and then it'll give a huge parse tree, right? So everything got done. Now no one really programs everything from scratch, right? So we basically start from someone else's code. There are all these libraries, either our code, someone else's code, all these packages, scikit-learn, and all kinds of packages, so TensorFlow packages, and so on. Now, why am I saying that? So there's a step function change, and the whole open source movement came in with all of the code that was now available. Now, we are seeing exactly the same thing happen with models, right? So to me, that is the contribution. The contribution is this foundation models that Dave just mentioned, because now, until a few years back, you had to go get all the data if you want to recognize image, or use ImageNet or any of the existing models, build everything from scratch, debug it, validate the models, and then deploy it. Now, what's happening is all that is, you start with the OpenAI model, GPT or BARD or LLM, the various Llama and others. So that's the step function. So just imagine how much code was written in the 90s and what happened in the 2000s with the